Hello, everyone. We are going to get started in just a few seconds. We just want to allow a few more people to join. So bear with us as we wait for like 30 seconds. Feel free in the meantime to tell us where you're joining from. Oh, there, we already have some people.
Yes, it'll be recorded
Yes.
afterwards.
Thank you.
Sorry, Audrey.
No, you're good. Oh, man, we got people from all over. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Billing Made Easy, how to take control and boost your revenue. We're so excited to have you guys here today. Before we dive in, let's go over a few housekeeping items to ensure you have the best experience during today's session. We want this to be an engaging session, so feel free to use the chat to say hi, let us know where you're joining from, and to connect with other attendees. You can also use the chat for general, non-webinar related comments. For any webinar-related questions, please use the questions tab located in your Livestorm toolbar. I will show a screen. You'll see it on the screenshot on the presentation being shared. This is just so we don't miss any important questions as we go on. If you can't stay for the whole session or just want to rewatch something later, that's no problem. You'll have access to the instant replay as soon as the webinar ends, and we'll also send you an email with the replay link later. So let's go into today's agenda. Today, we'll show you how to set up billing in our system with automation tools that simplify your workflow. We'll cover clearinghouse setup, CPT and DX codes, claim creation, and tips to ensure your forms are billing ready, all designed to help you save time and maximize revenue. Now let's go on to introductions. I'm Audrey White, your host for today's webinar. I'll guide you through the session and make sure everything runs smoothly. Joining me are Alyssa, Malika, and Yavana on the back end, who will help answer your questions throughout the webinar. If you submit a question in the questions tab, they will be there to respond or flag it for discussion during the Q&A portion. And of course, our featured speaker today is Brittany Langley. Brittany is wonderful. She's been with PracticeQ for 2 years, bringing in certified expertise in medical coding and a strong self-taught foundation in system billing. With over a year immersed in the billing side, she's pursued additional training to deepen her knowledge. She works closely with clearinghouses, supports clients directly, and collaborates with our development team to improve billing tools. Recognizing the need for personalized support, Brittany launched one-on-one billing trainings, now a key part of our onboarding process. She's passionate about simplifying billing and empowering providers in their workflows. We're so excited to have you, Brittany, and so I'm just going to hand it over to you now. I'll stop sharing my screen so you can get started.
Thanks, Audrey. I appreciate it. Hey, guys. So excited to do this with you all. I'm from Georgia, so that's where I'm coming from. So I'm excited to do this with you guys. I'm going to be going through the system, showing you, everything that you need to have together in your system that you're going to build yourself that is going to be able to make this whole billing process automated for you. So you're not sitting there editing every claim and, doing a lot of manual work that you don't want to do. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's do that. Hope everyone's having a good day. All right. So I'm in here in my sandbox account is what we call them. So it's my little fake account that I play around in. When you guys are on Zoom calls with me, this is where I'm at, trying to figure out what's going on. So first things that I want to start with is we're going to make sure that you do have all the information that you need. And we first want to start per practitioner. So over here in more in the blue banner, you're going to come down to my account. Now, remember, each practitioner has to do this themselves, but don't worry, there is another area where you can edit your own practitioner's information for billing. But if you want to, you come in and come do your own. So you'll go to more and account, click that guy open. You're going to hit clinical. So here's some information that you can put in: your NPI, tax ID, if you prefer your social security number, if that's what your contracted is, you know, with your payer that you're submitting to, you put whatever you need necessary, right? Your taxonomy, your street address, and all that good stuff. This is also used for super bills. So when you're the rendering provider of a service and the invoice knows that, it'll put that on the super bill for you. So all of this here is important. Again, you cannot switch into another provider and go into their account button. They have to do that themselves. But no worries, you can still edit their stuff in a different area. So with that being done, I want to go into your integrations, because if you do decide to submit insurance, the claims through PracticeQ, you do need to be integrated into either Trizetto or Office Ally. Those are the two clearinghouses that we provide as an integration. You will have to get your subscriptions outside of us, and then they will help you get your login information in order to connect the systems to ours. So if you go to more settings, over here to the left, come down to your integrations at the bottom. You'll scroll down and you will see that Trizetto and Office Ally are right next to each other. What you do is click the green settings button to the right, and then they will provide you with an SFTP username and password. What that is a folder. And then we take a file, put it in the folder, they open the folder, read the file, they send a file to us, we open the file and read it. So that's what this is, and that's why it's connected with us. But you do need to get that information from them. It will be different than the user login and password you use to get into those portals for the clearinghouses. Okay, and you just connect it. If you have any issues at all, email us at support@hello@intakeq.com. We will definitely work with you on it. All right. Okay, so we've got our integration. We've got our personal clinical billing information in. Let's go set up the actual claim settings. So let's get that background set up. So we're going to go into lists at the top in the blue banner. You're going to go to claims. And then up in the top right-hand corner is our claim settings. So let's start there. All right, so you're going to see these tabs. We'll go through them one by one. So this one is your defaults tab. Claim defaults. What this is used for is a group. So if you are billing under a group, you're going to want to put that here. If you're billing just under yourself, you don't need to put anything here. Okay, it's still going to follow your individual information that you put in clinical. Okay, so you can put all that here, and this is what is going to default into your claim when you put this in as your group. Okay, this will be in box 33. All right. And then you can use this default service facility. So if I have 3 different facilities that I practice from, if I have a specific one I use the most, I'm more than welcome to put this showing up as the default service facility. All right. Paid amount. You can include your client's paid amount on claims. And that's just what it means. They can put the paid amount if your client has paid beforehand onto the claim, and that will send to the clearinghouse and therefore send to the payer. All right, and that is box 29. I like that it gives you those little tidbits. Okay, and then pay to address. The only time you need to use this, because I have seen someone get a rejection before because they used it when they didn't need to, is if the address a check needs to be sent to is different than what you've listed in your organization, your group billing address. That's the only time that you need to touch this. Okay, so if you have a check that happens to go out, they're going to look for the address you want to send that check to. If this street address is fine with your group billing, cool, leave it. And then if it's not, let's say you have a PO box, you'll put that down here, and then it'll know, okay, I need to send that here, not to the actual street address for the group billing. That's what that means. And make sure you're saving your changes whenever you do anything. So always look for a save button at the bottom. If there isn't one, it's automatically saved. All right. And then, okay, facilities tab. So service facility, this is box 32. It's just telling the insurance company where you're providing the service. So, there's a place of service, where you practice, like office, telehealth. This is saying, where am I providing that service? What facility am I providing it at? So that's what these are for. You can have more than one. And something that's great about these is we give you the option to put the information in as well. And so facility NPI, facility name, the street address, and you can tie it to a location. So if I'm practicing at one location, but I've listed more than one location because I needed it in my booking settings, I can put which service facility that this goes to. All right. And also know that you can choose service facilities in your claims as well. You can use a different facility ID if necessary. And you can put that there. And this is just telling the insurance company where you're providing the service, at what facility. Okay. And let's see. So providers. So remember when I said you cannot edit your practitioner's clinical information for them in their account? You can here. So let's say you have an assistant that's going to be putting all this in for you, or you want to do it for your practitioners because you're starting out. You're more than welcome to do that here. Once you've invited and the person is an active practitioner in your account, you can come in here and you can edit. You can put in their tax ID, taxonomy, and all their information that you saw in the clinical tab as well. You can list them to a default service facility as well, because if Jane is only going to be working at one of my facilities, cool. I can go ahead and default her so the system knows every time she provides a service, the claim's like, oh, Jane only works here. So that's what I'm going to put. Okay. All right. And so you can do that for everyone. And this is also a good place to look to see if you get any rejections or denials due to something being off. You can come check that information to make sure it's correct. All right. And then payers. So this is important. The reason that we give this list of payers is because it works through the system. When your clients are filling out paperwork, their intake forms, they get to choose an insurance payer, right? Well, they're going to choose from this list that you provide them. That helps with user error, right? Also, the list that is provided here is given to us by the clearinghouses. Now, we have to update if they make updates to the list. So if you find out that the ID is not there and it should be, let me know and I'll get it added immediately. All right. And then you can also search by the payer ID. You can search by the name. If you're not quite sure what the payer ID should be, you can always ask your clearinghouse. They will know. And then don't worry about types. That will come with it. It is built on their side. All right. And so the payer ID is really important because that is something that will stop you from being able to submit a claim if you don't have the payer ID there. Okay. And I'll give you the names of everything. Now, something that's important about this is the edit button, because you have options within this. Okay. Notice that this is going to be where you can't edit it, and that's okay. And this is going to be blank. That's okay too. Remember, this list is coming from the clearinghouse. Oh, and a good thing to mention, Office Ally and Trozetto both have a different agreement of who they can send claims to. So just make sure that you make sure that the one you're looking for is one that they work with, because that's the list. Once you integrate with a clearinghouse, that's the list we provide you. They're two different lists. A lot of it, like 90-something% of it, is the exact same. So, okay. All right. You can put a default service facility for the payer. Let's say you only work at one location, service the facility, and you only use one payer there. That's fine. I do not see this used a lot, to be honest with you. Out of network provider, let's say you're sending claims on behalf of your clients, but you are out of network. You are more than welcome to click that button for the payer. And every single time this payer is listed in the client's account, when you submit the claim, it already knows to send the payments to the client. All right. And then you have a force rendering provider NPI on claim. You will notice when you add a payer, this is already clicked off for you. And that's so that we automatically push the rendering provider's NPI information into box 24J. because sometimes, let's say, you're the one that's billing under yourself, but you also provided the service. It will not put you in 24J as the rendering provider because your NPI is already in box 33 billing. But we hit force, so both of those boxes get filled. Override group NPI with box 33 with rendering provider. So let's say that some of your insurance payers you do use the group for. Okay, cool. Well, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I don't use the group for. I bill under my personal NPI. Not a problem. You can just override the group NPI here, and then the system will know that. When you create a claim for this insurance payer, it's going to populate your NPI and billing information in box 33, not the group. All right. And then add provider ID. These are just some other qualifying IDs that we provide that will go into box 24I, or it's J, but it's above the NPI. So you've got a couple different ones. I know some people end up using OB for Medicare, things like that. So you can choose the practitioner and put in the number, and it will go in there over the place of the taxonomy. You do not need to use this taxonomy if you've already got your taxonomy listed in the system. Okay. CPT override. This will make a little more sense when I show you where the CPT codes live in the system. But this is where we can override them. So we're going to be putting the CPT codes with your services, so the system knows when you book an appointment for that service that that's the codes it wants you want it to use, right? Well, let's say that this insurance payer, it needs to be different. I need a different modifier. This one wants 95 on telehealth where all the other ones don't. Cool. I can override the CPT code. I can choose whichever code I need. I can choose what it's being listed as, the place of service, and I can change the place of service, modifiers, and the unit rate if I want to specifically send a certain amount to this payer. So you have override options. Supervisor relationships. Let's say Josh Kitchen is an actual clinic, he's one of my clinic people, but he can't bill right now. But he is able to bill underneath me. Cool. I'm the supervisor, he's the supervisee. So what happens is now my billing information takes over the rendering provider information in box 24J, but Josh is still the one that provided the service. Therefore, Josh in the income report will still get the payment of that claim. All right. And then you have allowed amounts. This works with your, this works with your coinsurance. So what this does is if I have a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield and they're going to pay me $150 for this code, I'm going to put $150 here because in my client's account, I'm going to put that their coinsurance is 20%. Well, I want to bill them 20% of my contracted rate with the insurance company. So that's what allowed amount means. It's my contracted rate with this insurance company. So if I'm going to use coinsurance, if I'm going to charge coinsurance in the system, you will need to fill this part out. And you will need to do it for each and every code that you plan on using to bill for with this payer in your clients and services. So you'll put the allowed amount because you're able to bill codes for a certain amount if you so choose, but this would be your contracted rate because I don't want to charge my client 20% of anything that would be outside of the contracted rate. I don't want to accidentally charge them more than I should be charging them. So you want to put in your contracted rate here, and you can change it for different providers as well. And you can add as many as you need. Okay. All right. And that is payer settings. Okay. And then you can add your own. So if you need, I know some people put tests in here like this one. So you can add your own if necessary. If you're waiting on me to get it added, you can put that in there to use it for the time being. So that's up to you if you need to add a custom payer or not. But I typically ask people to reach out to me first and just want to make sure that we are finding it correctly or if there's something wrong before you add a custom payer, because if the ID is wrong, you will get rejected. So I just want to try to help you stay away from that. Okay. And then the other tab, what this has to do is with your invoicing. So this is just another thing that automates and allows you to not have to work as hard. So when your claim payments come back, whether that be ERA or whether that be a manual check that you got or virtual credit card, once that payment is closed and it's done, it's in the system, you can tell the system to either create an invoice for you or update an invoice you already have created if the client's responsibility differs. So if your client has a responsibility, once that ERA comes back, the system will be like, okay, well, I'll create your invoice for you for the client so that you know now this is what I need to charge the client. And the same thing with, let's say you already charged your client $20. That's what the copay said it was. Well, the ERA comes back and it's like, actually it's 30. So it'll go into your invoice, see that it's connected to the appointment and the claim, and it'll update it for you. You do have the option to send invoices or do not send them. The only difference I say there is if you are doing automatic payments or you're charging your clients' cards for them, I would choose do not send. Because if you send an invoice and it's already been paid, your clients can't open it. Because the whole point of sending the invoice is to pay it. The receipt is what you would send if you just want them to see the receipt. So it's two different things. This box right here, it will pop up when you choose to update or create, right? So if there's an overpayment, what do you want to do with this? Where do you want that money to go? So this is telling the system, well, add it to my client's credit balance and we'll just use it on future invoices. But do know when you use a credit balance, you have to use it manually. The system will not just automatically take that credit balance and put it into the client's invoice. So keep that in mind. And auto update client payment type. This one's great. We didn't used to have this. A lot of people pushed for it. So when you send a claim for a client, you will automatically turn them into a insurance billing type. And that's important when it comes to invoices, because if they are an insurance billing type, the system knows, okay, well, now I'm going to charge them based on copay and coinsurance. I'm not going to charge them based on the price of the service because they're not self-pay. So once you submit a claim, the system already changes them and they're like, nope, this person's not self-pay, they're insurance based. And that I'll show you that in the client profile, but that's what the other setting is. So let's say we got all this set up, we got our clinical, we're good. I want to take you into I want to show you where to put your CPT codes and your diagnosis codes because you are going to need those. So let's go into lists and invoices. We're going to go into invoice settings. All right. And then super bill. It's tucked under the super bill tab down here. You'll see diagnosis codes and your procedure codes. When you click on these, you'll have your list. You can upload a CSV list. It does give you instructions about that, or you can go in and add your own code yourself in the description. Okay. So this is your master list is what you would call it. So it goes for both. Okay. With that being said, because we want to have a list to choose from. So the next thing that we're going to be doing is going into bookings, and we're going to add those CPT codes to our services. So when we book an appointment with Jane Doe, the system knows, oh, you booked an initial consultation. Cool. Here's the CPT codes I need to throw into the claim. That's what we're going to do. So we went into bookings, booking settings, and now we're going into the services tab because the service is the procedure. So we're going to edit our service over to the right. And then over to the left, you got all these options. You got CPT codes, right? And this is where you're going to be putting your place of service. So if you're doing this in an office, let's say you're doing telehealth, you'll be able to put these here. It is important that you do it here because you cannot do it in, let's say, the note or something like that when you're editing before you create the claim. You would have to edit every single claim and every single CPT code that's in that claim if you don't do it here. So this is where it starts. This is the base. And then you've got your procedure codes. Now, you got modifiers, price, and units. Make sure that your unit is always 1. Do not leave it at 0 or it will not show up on the claim. And let's see. So the reason I have a bunch of procedure codes here is I wanted to let you know you have that option. You can put more than one here, and you can put the same one here with different prices. Let's say you're basing yours on time of what, that's how much you're going to submit. Cool. You can put 3 here, 4 here, whatever you need, because we'll show you in a minute, when you create that note, you can edit what's here. And then you go and create your note, and it's going to follow that edit you made in the note. So it's pretty cool. But this is where you want to add it. Also, you have this manage codes button, and you can come in and you can add codes, do what you need to do, search, and just add one if you needed to off the fly. But you will be able to see all your codes here, and you can add them here or remove them here. Okay. All right. So that's the CPT codes. Now we've got our CPT codes. We've got our settings put together. We got our clinical information. Now we want to make sure we have our diagnosis codes, because that's another important part of the claim. So I'm going to take you over to my forms, because diagnosis codes, they can only be used in treatment notes. So that's the only way that you can get that into a client's account, is by adding it through an actual treatment note. So in your note templates, if you open one up, you'll see that we have this plus sign here, or you can click add a new question, and then question type. We provided you one that works within the system. So this is data. So you just put it and you set it and forget it. And then once you create notes, you'll be able to actually use it within the system to gather the data for it to stay in the client's profile. All right. While we're in my forms, I do want to make sure that everyone is aware that we built the insurance questions for you. So they're already mapping to your client's account. When you are in an intake form, if you click that little gray plus sign, you'll see that I have demographics, primary insurance, and secondary insurance. These are already built for you. They are correctly mapping to the correct place. So you can just add that. If you need to edit and remove a box or add a box, feel free. But all this is done for you. So it does make life a little bit easier. We'll say that. And that way you don't have to deal with mapping done incorrectly, because if you don't map the insurance company, it's not going into their profile. It's not going into the claim. So I do love those questions, and I'm thankful that they created those. So, okay. All right, so now we got our CPT codes, DX codes. We know that we're pulling in the client's insurance information correctly. I'm going to show you how to actually create the appointment, edit the note, and then create the claim. So I'm going to come into my calendar. I'm going to type in my client, and let's just say that this appointment was already here. And I'm going to go ahead and just save it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and create the claim. I just saw this client. I want to go ahead and get my billing done now. So first I'm going to create my note. All right. Actually, let's do this from the client's account. So I'm going to actually go into the client's account. Okay. All right. So here's my appointment for today. And I'll go ahead and create the note. Let's do diagnosis so you can see that. All right. Now, because I added those codes to that service in the booking settings, that's what's going to come into my note. This is awesome. Now I can edit. If my appointment went a different way and I'm like, you know what? I knew that might have happened. I'm going to get rid of these 2. And also, let's say I did 2 units of this. I don't have to add it right here. It'll automatically do that in the claim for me. All right, so I can edit any of this however I need to, add another one, whatever you need to do. It looks just the same like we just saw in the service settings. Excuse me. And then current diagnoses. So this is that question we just added. It's data within the system. So if you edit, I can go and add a new diagnosis, remove it, move it up and down. When I add new diagnosis, it's going to pull that same page you saw when we went to go add them to manage them. And you can click as many as you need to. You can use the search option. You can hit done selecting, and it'll come straight in here. Click done editing, and there you go. As long as it's saved, it's now in the client's profile. So now that I've edited everything, my note is linked to my appointment. The CPT codes are good. I've got my diagnoses in. I'm just going to go ahead and get out of this note real quick. You will notice that here under my diagnosis tab, here they are. So cool. Awesome. All right. So now I'm going to go create the claim for today. Don't mind how many unclaimed appointments I have. All right. Okay, so this is the claim interface. Notice that my status is draft right now, and I have a claim number, so cool. All right, here's all my patient's information. I pulled all that in through mapping in my form. My insurance payer, I added that in my claim settings so that my client could choose that on their form so it could map to their profiles and it will show up here. All right, the insurance information, same thing. I made sure to use that question that IntakeQ provided in my form. My client filled it out. It went into their profile and boom, now it's in the claim. And then billing provider, this is that group NPI. So that defaults tab in your claim settings, it pulled in. This is going into box 33. All right, and then there's my diagnosis. So that pulled in from the client's account. I added it in the note. It put it into their account. Boom, now it's in my claim. And you'll also notice that it goes onto each CPT code line as well. So here are my procedures. Remember, my note had 4, but I edited them. I put that there was 2 units. There were normally 100, so it added it for me. So all of this has come in, my place of service, the date of service, any modifiers, my charges are in, my units. Notice my practitioner NPI is listed here because I'm the rendering provider. That can be changed. Notice that all of this is editable if necessary. My 3 little dots will show that my taxonomy is here. I'm being forced into the box 24J, if you want to call it that. And that's here. You can remove these, add these, whatever you need to do. All right, you have referring provider, service facility. So here's my service facility. I had made the Puppy Productions default. So that's what pops up in every single one of my claims. But again, you can choose whichever ones you need to if necessary. I'm not quite sure that, and don't quote me, that every payer does need this service facility. So if you're unsure about certain billing, that you're not quite sure if that's what you should do, I would reach out to the payer or if you have a biller. Okay. Other details, these are things like workers' comp, auto accidents, date of current illness or injury. So it's what, like box 14 and 15 have to do with other date and date of current illness or injury. So if you use those, that's where they are. You do have original reference number. That's going to be important if you need to resubmit a claim. We do have an article walking you through how to do this and how to use it. Alrighty, prior authorization numbers if you need that for your specialty. Okay, so that's what the other details are. And then you do have some options over here. You can add notes as necessary if you need to, straight to this claim, about this claim. The activity is really important because this is just pretty much an audit trail of your claim. If the clearinghouse accepts it, you'll see that. If they are processing it, you'll see that. Did your assistant actually submit the claim? You'll see that. Is an ERA come back? You'll see that. Like, did you manually add a check? So everything's going to be there. Who did it and when? Okay. So this is really important to take a look at this, especially when you get a rejection or denial, because sometimes when you look at the claim, it doesn't really give you too much. It'll say missing or invalid information, right? If you come into activity, it'll probably say something longer. If it doesn't, you will need to reach out to your clearinghouse to get a better understanding of why it was rejected. Then you can come back to us. We'll help guide you to fix what happened. Okay. All right. Next thing you do once your claim is ready to go is you want to click validate. Validate will save your claim. As you know, it's a 1-2 punch. Notice my status changes to validated once I'm done. So now I can no longer edit the claim, but don't worry, you can always go back and edit. It's okay. And then once this is all good to go, it's been validated, I can click actions and there will be a 5th button here if you are integrated to a clearinghouse. And you can click on that submit to clearinghouse and it will submit the claim and your status will change to submitted up top. All right. And that is the claim interface. Okay. And let's see. So I want to take you to look at list and claims before we're done here. All right, so this is your list and claims view. Notice that you have a bunch of search options up here. Warning is a good one. I didn't know about warning for a while. I trained myself on a lot of this. So Any warning, zero paid amount on a line item. Did you pay me for one code and not the other? Why? So all of that's in here. And you can use these searches however you necessary. Status is a big one. A lot of people use this one. And it's, you know, it helps you, especially with your reviewing statuses that you're able to do. Okay. Now, one big thing that I like to show is there are two toggle views. This is a breakdown view where I can see the line items, right? If I click the other one, it's a list. So sometimes it's easier when you have the list just because you need to navigate through a lot of claims, you know. If you have them broken down like this, it's going to be a little bit longer. But this breakdown allows you to see the payment that's tied to this claim. So that's really helpful. So you can open up the payment, you can see it, and you can see the breakdown, you know. You can see what they paid, what happened. So I do like that. One thing I want you to know, if you ever see boxes next to something, there is a bulk action waiting for you. So if you click the little boxes, notice this bulk action pops up. You are able to bulk validate. You can change to submitted. You can bulk submit to the clearinghouse. Again, I'm not connected to a clearinghouse because it's a test account, but it would be there for you if you are. You can change them to paid. You can export to PDF. What that will do is print out a bunch of PDFs of all of the claims, the CMS 1500 forms. The EDI files. Those files are the electronic file that we send to the clearinghouse. So it's pretty cool. If you ever needed it, you could. Or delete in bulk. Be careful with that one. All right. So another thing you can do in this page, you can also export to CSV. Do know that each view allows you to do that as well. So the difference between claims and claims items is this is the full claim. This is the breakdown of the claim. So know that. All right. Another thing you can do in bulk is create claims. Excuse me. In this view, these are appointments, not claims. So these are appointments that do not have claims. So you can filter by tags. You got different search options up here as well. Again, boxes, bulk actions. This little guy, he's pretty cool. Let me know that it's ready to go. All these other ones will show me something's wrong. So what's cool is when I select this and I click create claims, what it's going to do is ask me if I want to validate that claim. And then once I validate, do I want to submit it? And so you can just go boom, 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 and it's done. They're created, they're submitted, you're good to go. Or if you just want to create them and have them validated and you'd rather submit them in bulk at another time, go for it. So you have choices. So that's creating them in bulk. All right, you got two other little sneaky guys up here. One is payments. So that other breakdown that you saw on the claims list, that was showing the payment that it specifically has that claim tied to it, right? This is your full payment. So it'll show you all the claims that are attached to that payment, right? And notice your search options change again. You still got warnings over here, so that's nice, but you can put in your check numbers. So these are all of your payments. They're broke down, everything that you need, and you can click open and view them. And it'll have all the information spelled out for you. The insurance paid, deductible, copay, co-insurance, the check amount number. And then there's an actions. I always suggest and tell clients, do not edit your ERAs. By the way, for those who don't know, an ERA agreement is an agreement you have with the clearinghouse who sends a letter on your behalf to the insurance payer to allow them to send the payment to your EMR, you know, because you have to have that agreement where they're like, okay, we'll share this client's information. That's fine. So that will allow the payment to come into the PracticeQ system. The ERA agreement, your clearinghouse can help you work that out. But once they come in, I always just say, don't edit it. Just reach out to me, to be honest. Reach out to support if you think that something is wrong, or feel free to reach out to your clearinghouse and your payer as well. But yeah, that's what the little payments look like. Closed, it's paid. All right. And then I wanted to show you add payment. So you can manually add your own payments. So if you get a check, also good to note, if you get a virtual credit card, you cannot use that to pay your client's invoice, but you can use it to pay the claim, which is what it's intended for. So you just choose the payer, put in the date, and you don't have to put in a check number, but you do have to put in an amount. So if you leave that check number empty, go for it. A lot of my clients will put in VCC. So when they need to go search a check number, they can search VCC and see all their virtual credit card payments that they've added. And all you'll do is select the payer, select the date, either put in a check number and an amount. You'll hit continue. It'll give you a list of claims to add to that payment, or it'll give you a search option where you can add a claim manually if you need to, if it's not in that list. And then you will end up getting a payment that looks like this, and you will end up filling it out yourself exactly the way the EOB presents itself to you. So whatever it says, you put here, and then you close it out and you paid it, and it'll mark your claim as paid. All right. And then appointments. This is probably one of my favorite views in the entire system, just because of all that it entails. If you notice, this has the most search options in the system of any other page. So you've got like payment, has an insurance payment amount. Let's see, has a pending invoice updated by ERA. I want to know that. I want to know my note status. Does it have an invoice? What about tags? What about billing type? Appointment status, date, all that. So there's a lot of options here in order to search and find something that you're looking for. So that's why one reason I love it. I love that it shows the client, that practitioner, the status of the appointment, the date. I can change the date to view the oldest or the newest. I can tell if a note's been added. Is it locked? Is it unlocked? My service. I can see the price of the service, the actual self-pay price. I can see if I billed insurance yet. And if I did, how much? What status is my claim at? Can I open the claim? Absolutely. And then over here, I can create an invoice. I can see if we've had an invoice. Has it been paid? And an insurance amount. Has the insurance paid me? Cool. Well, I can open up a payment from here really quickly. There's not a lot you can do from here, as in create a claim or anything like that. You can create an invoice. But this, I've noticed, is strictly for just if you really need to find something and you really need to see the full process of the claim in the system. So the claim, the invoice, and the payment. So I do love that when I need to find something. I have a lot of clients that want to see claims versus the invoices. This is a great place to see that, to manage things. Because that's what the point of these views are, is to help you manage your claims. Now, there's some things that we're not going to be able to manage for you. So it is a good practice to make sure that you are staying in your portal of your clearinghouse and checking on things and managing things there as well. Because yes, they will send us a file of the EDI, and we will provide an EOB lookalike. So it'll read that file and make it readable for you, but it won't always be there, because once that file leaves your SFTP folder, you don't have it anymore. So you can't view it, but you can go to your clearinghouse portal and view your full EOB there, which will give you all of your reject codes, reasons, all of that. So there, you can manage your claims in here, but do understand that you need to go manage your claims in your portal as well, because that is going to give you a lot more information than we can. Like, I can't figure out why your claim was rejected. I can give you what my system says, because that's what the file says that was sent to us. But if you need to know the real nitty gritty or anything like that, I advise you to go to your clearinghouse. They can give you great support. All righty. So, all right, so that is everything on my side. The only other thing I think that would be a good idea that I did not write down is I want to show you real quick the client's profile. There's that billing type, insurance. Remember, if they're self-pay, it's going to charge them the amount of the service. If they're insurance, it's now going to go off of their insurance. So if you put in a copay, did you put in co-insurance and turn it on? You know, that's what it's going to go off of. Your deductible and out of pocket does not work within the system. That is managed by you only. Your invoices will not affect that. Okay. But here's your insurance, your group numbers, all that good stuff. Self, their street address. That's all that went into that claim. You do have secondary insurance information that you can add to your claims. We do not submit to secondary, but you can list it on there. Some clients will do that because their primary insurance is actually in cahoots with Medicare or Medicaid. So they'll send the claim off for them, and then it looks like a primary claim in our system. So we will take the secondary payment. That is the only way. But you can add your secondary insurance, because if you do end up getting a secondary payment outside of the system, you could go in and manually add that secondary payment and come choose the claim because the secondary insurance was listed. So then you can add the secondary, but you have to do it manually. Again, we do not submit to secondary insurance. Okay. All right, Audrey, that is it on my side. Woohoo.
Right, now we're going to go into the Q&A portion. We have a ton of questions, so thank you guys so much. We'll try to get to about 3 of them in the time that we have left, hopefully more. But if we don't get to your question, if we don't answer it during the webinar, the support team will be reaching out afterwards and helping you. So the first question I'm seeing here is, how do you use a diagnosis pointer on a claim?
A diagnosis pointer? So I'm assuming they mean like the list that it's in, like, is it, because on your claim on the CMS 1500, you'll notice it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, there's 12. And depending on the way that it's listed in the client's diagnosis tab, because you'll see those 3 little lines to the right, you can move them up and down, and that's how the pointer will be. That's where it'll be in the claim. Like if I want A to be a certain diagnosis, that's where I need to have the code. It needs to be the first one in that list. Hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you. And then David asked, can we get AR reporting based on allowed amount?
An allowed amount? I don't think so. Your AR report is just going to show you what insurance hasn't paid you for claims that are created, that have been submitted.
Okay. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Okay. Here's another question. Under the insurance payer setting for allowed amount, our practice currently puts down a higher price amount next to CPT code that was automatically generated in the patient's notes. And it is true that insurance will automatically adjust your, I'm assuming they meant, is it true that insurance will automatically adjust your set price to the schedule fee on the agreement?
The allowed amount on the payer setting is for the client and their invoice. It is not for the claim. That CPT override, that would be the amount on the claim that gets changed. So the amount that you're billing, you're going to want to use the CPT code override if that needs to change. The allowed amount is your contracted rate, because when you go to charge a client their coinsurance, and let's say I'm billing code 99205 for $400 because I've got another payer that'll pay me $380, and I want to make sure I'm billing enough. Well, my client who has their insurance carrier, they only pay me $120. I don't want to charge them 20% of $380 because that's not right. That's not the allowed contracted rate that I have with that payer. So that's what the allowed amount is.
Wonderful. Deborah asked, for providers, should it be each individual clinician, meaning even if they're associates under the clinical supervision?
Yeah, because that's when you can use that supervisor option under your payer settings. Like I'm Jane, I'm the one that is allowed to bill. I have the contract with the insurance company, but Josh doesn't. Josh does produce the services. He does see the clients. He is the person taking care of those clients. He's the actual rendering provider, but he can't bill, right? So then the supervisor role takes over. That my name and my NPI would then go into box 24J rather than his, because then the claim would be denied because he isn't allowed to bill under that payer.
Okay. And then another one, do we need to add 2 locations if we see patients in person and telehealth?
So a while ago, when I first started, I was told that you needed to have an in-person location and a telehealth location. Apparently that is not true. So no, you do not need to have the 2 locations. If you do have the 2 locations, it's not a problem. I personally would have the 2 locations. It just makes my brain feel better, especially if I'm searching by location and I need to separate things. That just, I don't know, makes things more clear for me. But I guess towards the whole like facilities thing, I mean, was that the question? Was over the facilities? Will you say it one more time?
Yes, it said, do we need to add 2 locations if we see patients in person and telehealth?
I think that's geared more towards the services. You do need to have separate services, though. You do need to have an in-person service and a telehealth service. So you can duplicate the service in your services tab in your booking settings to make life easier on you. And then you go enable telehealth options within that service. And then in your CPT codes, you're able to change the place of service to telehealth. So I've got one service that's going to automatically go to in office, and then I've got the telehealth service that's automatically going to go to place of service telehealth. And I can also add my modifier 95 if necessary, or G2 to that CPT code in that service to help go into the claim as well. So it is good to have those 2 separate, but it's not necessary for the location.
Okay, and this one I think is kind of related, and if you just answered it, forgive me. If we are working from home doing telehealth exclusively, what address do we put in the service facility? Is it our home address, or can we just leave that blank?
You can leave it blank. Steven is someone who works with us that came from another system, and he actually knows a lot of billing. He is a biller, and he told me that you don't necessarily need to list a facility. Again, I am not a biller. So if you are not sure, please reach out to your payers or a biller and make sure that you get the right guidance. But I'm not quite sure if it's necessary, especially if you are working from home. But use the office address if you have an office address, even if you if you're doing a telehealth from home. If you have an office address, just use that if you're not sure. So.
Awesome. And then last question we'll answer live here from Jocelyn. For the billing NPI, one payer wants my NPI 1 and another wants my NPI 2. Is there a way to customize this? Which NPI would I put here in box 33?
Well, it depends. Is your NPI, so let's say well, I'll tell you what our system does. That's probably better. We allow for a group NPI and we allow for 1 NPI per provider. That's it. We don't allow for a group NPI and then 2 different NPIs for 1 practitioner provider. We don't. We unfortunately don't have, we can't support that at the moment. So you only get the 1 NPI.
Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up today's webinar. Thank you all so much for joining. As a quick few reminders before you go, anyone's question that didn't get answered during the webinar, we will be reaching out via support afterwards. There were a lot of questions, so be patient with us as we go through them. Also, the instant replay is available now after we end the webinar, and we'll also send an email with the replay link shortly. On behalf of our entire team, thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you at our next webinar. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And it is Wednesday, so almost to the weekend.
Yes. Thank God.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Thanks, guys.